Yeah, thank you, Abhishek. Thank you very much. And thank you, Dr. Chandak, for having me here. And it was a wonderful morning spent. And we are discussing about all the speakers, eminent speakers are discussing their experience about the various use of instruments and the conceptual idea about using the instruments in different and difficult situations. My talk is slightly different, where I'll be talking on concepts of implants in hip surgeries. It is slightly similar to the talks that we are doing, that when we try to mix the concepts, how things can go wrong, and it is important for us to understand the simple concepts so that we can use the different implants to our advantage. Yeah, Abhishek, can you just stop? Just a moment. I think
You just
screen.
put a click on it.
Yeah, but there's this annotation that has come in, which I can't get rid of.
Naveen bhai, any help you can provide?
Click cross mark. There is a red cross mark on the left upper side.
Yeah, so
the annotation.
The mouse is not going there.
Cross karo, cross kar do.
Yeah, we can see now.
Yeah.
Acha, abhi theek hai.
Now play it. Now play it. Yeah.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Fantastic.
Just a moment, because I can't see my own screen.
Because you are not kept side to side. That's why. All the cameras are coming.
Yeah.
All the videos are coming in between.
Yeah. So can you see that now?
Now we can see.
Yeah. So basically, so all of us trauma surgeons have to encounter the fractured neck femur very occasionally, and we all do bipolar hip replacements. So I'll be basing my talk more so on the choice of the femoral stems that we use for our bipolar hip arthroplasty. This can also be extrapolated to total hip arthroplasty, which we have borrowed these concepts from. But then the talk would be quite long, because there will be the acetabulum, the bearing surfaces, and a lot of other variables also. So to give you a quick take-home message for all the young arthroplasty surgeons, or the people who are wanting to do bipolars and using the different stems, these are the wide range of stems that are available to us. They either might be the original designer stems, or they could also be a sort of a copy or a sort of a modification of these particular stems. These stems, right, if you start from the left-hand corner, that is the Chanli, which is the sort of the collared, flat back. Then comes the Exeter. Then is the Kerbul, which is not available in India, but there are its copies or modifications of the Kerbul. Then there is a Mueller stem, which also certain companies have sort of got their design inspired from them and got in India. And bottom pictures are also the different stems that you can see that there are different shapes, sizes, different tapers. So the hip designs, the femoral stem design, can be symmetrical or anatomical. They could be side specific. They could have an oval or rectangular cross section. They could be collared or non-collared. The flange could be present or absent. The edges could be rounded to a greater or a lesser extent. And they could have certain design changes, like maybe they could be double tapered or a triple tapered. Now, what are the differences in them? Now, what happens is that when you look at the joint registry data, most of these stems have performed very well. But it is only the subtle changes in the design which leads to a catastrophic failure. Also, these stems have to be used with a particular philosophy. And when you marry that philosophy with the particular surgical technique, then you get a decent or a good outcome. All the stems or the philosophies that I'm going to mention have got a very good track record of almost 97% or 95% survivorship at about 10 to 15 years. It is only after 15 years that the differences start coming in. In our country, if you are doing a bipolar hip replacement, or someone is doing a hip replacement of fractured neck femur, generally we would expect a life expectancy of about 20 years or so. So that is why it is very important for us to understand what kind of stem we are using and which kind of mode are we using that stem. A few quick brief concepts that about the polish or the surface roughness of the stem. The stem could be either polished, and the engineers, they use a sort of a factor which is called as a RA factor. That is, it indicates the surface roughness of the stem. If it is highly polished or a shiny stem, the surface roughness or the RA value is less than 1 micron. If it's a matte finish, it's about 2 micron. And if it's a rough finish, it is more than 2 micron. So that is all we need to understand here. Now, how does that make a difference? So when we talk about these femoral stems, there could be two concepts. One is either they could be a shape closed design, which is what you see in the figure next to it, or it works as a more of a composite beam. This is basically a matte finish femoral stem which has a collar and also has a flange. They have other features like ridges or a profile that can transfer a large portion of the load from the stem to the cement. They're generally anatomic. They could be anatomic. There are a lot of people who also come with a symmetrical design, and these features they contribute stability to the implant. So when you're using a shape closed design or a composite beam design, we need a thick or a continuous cement mantle of a good quality with a strong cement bone interface to function as well. But however, what is important is that if it is not done well, because the surface finish is a matte finish, it can generate more debris, it can cause a severe damage to the cement mantle, and if the debonding occurs, then this stem can loosen drastically because there could be a lot of stress and strain at the cement and a stem interface. So what it means to say is that these matte finish stems are basically very easy or very good for the cement to stick on. So you stick the cement on the stem, and the cement is impacted very well in the cancellous bone and it interlocks with the cancellous bone. So the stem, cement, and the cancellous bone becomes one seamless or a continuous beam which transfers the load. So this is the funda or the principle of the shape closed design. So here you do not want the stem to move. You want the stem to be rigidly fixed to the cement and the cement rigidly fixed to the bone. The next concept is a force closed design or a loaded taper. Now you can see in the diagram that the stem is a highly polished femoral stem, and it is a collarless stem. It is a thin or a narrow stem, and it has got a mechanical taper. Therefore, what happens is that when you put the cement in, these slips very easily into the cement. The cement does not stick on to that, so it can subside within the cement mantle. And these are the stems that rely on a good cement mantle and the cement sticking to the bone, and this stem subsides within the cement. So basically, as that happens, there is a lot of radial compressive forces. So the stem, over a period of time, over the first 2 years or so, it just wedges very firmly within the cement mantle, which is wedged very firmly within the cancellous bone, and then that becomes a very rigid or a good concept, a very strong construct. So there is a centralizer in all these stems which is filled with air. Now in the previous concept or in the shape closed design, the centralizer is not filled with air because the stems are not designed to subside. So if you have an air trapped sort of cement mantle, it means there is some air which is trapped, which expands, and then that can act as a weak area that can promote subsidence of the shape closed stem, which is not what you would desire. However, in a force closed design or in this loaded taper design, like what you see in the picture is an exeter stem or a highly polished stem, you would want a air within the centralizer so that can subside over a period of time, and then that can become a very strong construct. So this diagram sort of tells you that the image on the left is basically a shape closed, and the image on the right is a force closed, where you can see that the stem actually with loading is subsides into the cement mantle, and that becomes a very stable construct, and that becomes a very strong stem. Now, these were both the concepts which historically came from England, from Chanley's Institute in Wrightington, Manchester, and Exeter was in the south in Exeter. A diametrically opposite concept that came from the French people, and also to a large extent, to some extent, from the Germans and the Swiss, where there is a Miller stem, and some German stems like the Luminous SP. So modifications of those designs and copies of the design are also existing into the Indian bipolar sort of orthofemoral stem market. So what the French came up with, the French came up with a concept which was completely different to that, which was a big, long, and strong stem, which would fit in the femoral canal completely. So in the first two concepts, the shape closed and the force closed, you would not take out all the cancellous bone. You leave a rib on the cancellous bone, you broach it, cement it nicely so you get a good interdigitation, and put the stem in. In the French system or this curvule stem, as you can see from the X-ray, there is a line-to-line reaming. So you have reamed the femoral stem has been sort of inserted, and there is very thin space available for the cement mantle. So they would put in some cement, they would pressurize the cement, but in this stem, the cement mantle, contrary to the first two concepts, was a very, very thin cement mantle. So a lot of people thought that this would fail, but surprisingly, this stem also had got a very good results, and there were a lot of biomechanical reasons why they got a good result. It was because there were fewer cracks within the cement mantle. The cement was very strong in compression. The stem was receiving a lot of support from the cortical bone. So what we have understood is that if the stems are circular, they have a very small rotational stability. So when you choose your stem, you just make sure these points are all tick marked and you make a note of these points. The cross-sectional shape of the stem in the diaphysis should either be rectangular and should have gentle edges so that there is no stress riser. It improves the rotational stability. Bigger the stem in the metaphysis and thicker the stem in the metaphysis also gives you a good rotational stability. If the horizontal offset of the stem is large, then there is a lot of torque on the stem, and therefore you require a stronger stem over there. So then it will not have any problems. So the larger the mantle and the smaller the stems, the rotationally there is a problem. So we'll see in the subsequent slide what happened to these stems. If you see the Chanley stem evolution, on the left hand side is the original Chanley that was modified to a Chanley flat back. It was modified to a round back Chanley. The problem with these stem was they used to be fixed, they used to subside and get fixed in the distal cement mantle very well. And so there should be these cantilever bending forces, and they used to have this problem with stem fractures. We don't see that nowadays because the design has changed and very few manufacturers have stuck to the original design. So they came up with this flanged concept where the flange would also give some stability in the proximal cortex. But then with the flange, the problem came that these stem used to subside and it just caused aseptic loosening because the surface finish also they changed, and therefore the stem used to debond with the cement and the cement used to subside as a whole. So they modified that and came with a C stem, which had a triple taper. But while giving the third taper, you can see there is a highly polished stem. It is round in cross section, and therefore there was no rotational stability, and these stems failed in the rotational instability. So finally, they came up with the C stem AMT, which is the more popular design, which is what most of the design manufacturers are now following. This is just a graph which is sort of showing you, and to take you through it very quickly. There's a cancellous bone. If you have an oval shaped brooch, as you see on the top, and you have a thick cement mantle, then it is a recipe for failure. Because both these stems, both these stems failed. If you come to the bottom of the screen, if you have a box shaped brooch and a curate and a thick cement mantle and a thin cement mantle, so if you have a thick cement mantle, stems like Exeter and Chanley, they did well because of the good cementing techniques. But if you have a thin cement mantle, you should make sure that you have as large stem as possible, which would give some cortical support. So whenever a design philosophy is adopted, you just make sure what are the changes in design and use it to your advantage. There were a few failures on the way, and if you see that a lot of implant manufacturers have made a lot of changes, it is the same stem, the CK or the CMK stem, which are the copies of which are there in our Indian market. So over a period of time from 1972 to 1988, they made certain changes. This is out there in the literature, and they had a failure rate up to 21% when they started to make changes in something which was already known. There is a famous story of the 3M capital hip, and in the interest of time, I'll just go through it, but everyone should be aware that 3M was a very popular company, and they just decided to copy the Chanley design as such while making certain changes which were not told to the surgeons. The most important change was they changed the stem from stainless steel or cobalt to a titanium stem, and the problem was they tried to introduce some more modularities in the stem for the benefit of the surgeons, but however, that boomeranged on them very badly, and they had a very high failure rate. So we came to know that titanium is not good for the cemented hips because there were problems. It was a softer sort of stem, so it used to abrade very easily. It doesn't stick to the cement, and there was a rapid wear and loosening. So to conclude, basically, you understand what design philosophy of the stem you're going to use and in what modality you want to use. So you can't use one particular stem and apply the second principles of the other stem to your femoral stem. Smaller deviation in the designs. If you decide to change a particular company, just make sure what the implant manufacturer's guidelines are, what sort of philosophy they follow, and then you can use it to your benefit. So to conclude, I would just like to say there's no such thing as a small change. Every small change in orthopedics will have certain implications, and we just need to be aware of that. Thank you very much.